Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Kevin Huckabee with What the Huck Presents, and I hope all is well with you. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. This Storycast group therapy is about mental health with individuals dealing with their personality differences. Yes, I call them differences instead of disorders because it's only a disorder if you allow it to disorder your life. Shout out to Mom for that one. This episode is about anxiety. The DSM, that is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that psychologists and psychotherapists use, defines anxiety as an excessive worry and apprehensive expectations occurring more days than not for at least 6 months about a number of events or activities such as work or school performance. The anxiety and worry are associated with 3 or more of the following 6 symptoms, with at least some symptoms present for more days than not for the past 6 months. You got restlessness or feeling keyed up or on edge, easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating or mind going blank, irritability, muscle tension, sleep disturbance such as difficulty falling or staying asleep, or restless and unsatisfying sleep. The anxiety, worry, or physical symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Okay? So there are going to be real tools in this storycast to help anyone who is dealing with anxiety. So without further ado, this episode, Tuesday, Martin, anxiety. Let's get to it. So it's 6:30 a.m. Tuesday morning in the Dallas suburb of Cedar Hill, Texas, and Martin Shoemaker, who deals with anxiety, is currently sitting in his car in the driveway of his modest home. No, Martin isn't waiting on anyone. He's using a tool that Dr. J gave him in group, this one being gradual exposure. He remembers back to Dr. J in a group session saying, "Okay, Martin, when it's time for you to go to work, sit in your car for about 5 minutes and put your hands on your steering wheel to get used to the grip and the thought of controlling it." Martin responds, "Okay, Dr. J, I can do that, but what about when I actually start driving?" Well, another part of gradual exposure is you can take a short ride around your neighborhood before you hit the highway, say a block or so, responds Dr. J, looking intently at Martin, slightly over his thin-framed glasses. Martin responds, stammering, but Dr. J, whoo, just thinking about it, whoo, it makes my heart beat. What about when I have to get on the highway? Dr. J, in his calm voice, answers with, "It's okay, Martin. Try box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. Also, remember, you're in control of the driving. Picture and treat anxiety like it's a passenger on your bus, right? It can be noisy, but it can't physically interfere with your driving." Purvis, who is a bus driver we were also introduced to in the last episode, interjects, "If I had a loud passenger, I'd tell him, 'Hey, shut your stupid self up before I make you shut up,'" with Dr. J quickly saying, "Purvis, please, it's not your time yet." "My bad, Doc. Flashback." "It's fine," says Dr. J, now turning back to Martin. He continues, "And it's important to remember, Martin, to replace any bad thoughts with positive ones. Reassure yourself that you're a safe driver and can handle this. Also, listen to some calming music and hum or sing along to it." Martin, looking up in the air through his thick glasses, is nodding his head to the information he's receiving and says, "Okay, Dr. J,
I can do those things. And I have the perfect music. Christopher Cross, Sailing takes me away to where I've heard it could be.
Okay, Martin. That's right, responds Dr. J with a smile on his face and in his voice, with everyone else chuckling at Martin's singing. Martin suddenly blurts out,
Wait, what if I come across a road rager and they start to...
Dr. J can see the panic building in Martin and immediately jumps in saying, Martin, stop. If you come across an aggressive driver, ignore them. Don't engage and keep the focus on your driving and sing louder to your music if you want to.
Oh, okay, I can do that,
says Martin, calming down and nodding his head in approval. Back to the present, with Martin starting his gray compact car and taking a simple ride around his quiet block. The time is now 6:45 a.m. Martin has to be at work by 8 a.m. He decides to go ahead and brave the highway before traffic gets too bad. As he enters the entrance ramp to get onto Highway 67 to head northbound to downtown Dallas, an anxious thought about being hit while getting on the highway pops up. But remembering the tool of externalizing his fear that Dr. J gave him also comes up. Martin now visualizes himself as Purvis and speaks out loud to the anxious thought, saying,
Shut your silly self up and sit down,
forcing Martin to smile and giggle to himself. As Martin closes in on downtown, Highway 67 has now turned into Highway 35 with more traffic. Martin decides to stay in the slower lanes to the right, still listening to Sailing, which he has on repeat. He all of a sudden hears a horn honking behind him. He looks in his rearview mirror to see a red sports car close behind him, whose driver obviously wants Martin to speed up. Before he knows it, Martin starts thinking,
what if they ram into the back of my car?
He envisions the red sports car having a battering ram on the front of it and running into the back of his small car and forcing him off the road. Martin snaps himself out of that thought and remembers what Dr. J said, which Martin repeats out loud to himself.
Replace bad thoughts with positive ones. I got this. I'm a safe driver.
Just then, the red sports car has enough room to snatch itself from behind Martin and pass him on the left side. Martin can't help himself and decides to look at the passing car to see who the driver is, and is shocked at who he sees. Martin's bifocaled gaze meets the disapproving and irritated face of an elderly woman who, when meets Martin's gaze, flips him the bird. Martin snaps his head back forward, saying, "Woo, woo." Feeling beads of sweat start to form on his forehead and the feeling of pins in his armpits. But he remembers.
Ignore them. Don't engage. Focus on the drive and sing louder.
Martin presses a button on his steering wheel that increases the volume to Sailing by Christopher Cross, and Martin starts to loudly sing along.
Sailing takes me away.
Finally arriving downtown in the parking garage of the building where his job at Copper and Polk, a corporate law firm, is located, Martin pauses and sits in his car to mentally prepare himself for his workday. The time is now 7:25 a.m. And Martin flashes back to the same session that Dr. J gave him driving tools in. The focus of this flashback is tools for dealing with Martin's anxiety at work. He remembers Dr. J calmly saying, "Remember to stay grounded at work, Martin. You can use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, where you identify things you see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. Or, if you need to and can, go to the restroom and run cold water over your wrists to slow your heart rate."
But what if I start thinking about losing my job and them throwing me out of the building like Uncle Phil used to do jazz on The Fresh Prince?
Say, man, you look at The Fresh Prince too? Say, remember that episode when Billy quickly interjects Dr. J, cutting Billy off, who then asks, "Am I doing the ADHD thing?" Looking at Billy, who's sitting on Dr. J's immediate right, Dr. J says, "Yes, and it's not your turn yet," says Dr. J in a peaceful tone, with Billy responding with his hands up. Okay, I got you. I can wait my turn. "Thank you, Billy," Dr. J says, now looking at Martin again, who's sitting to Billy's immediate right. He says, "Martin, similar to driving, you have to challenge those negative thoughts as not to let them rule you. Replace them with more realistic ones and or a balanced perspective. You told me once in a previous session that you've been recognized at work for doing a good job, right?"
Yes, I was recognized for how well I put a case file together and awarded a day off.
Okay, see? Focus on thoughts like that, Martin. With everyone else in the group nodding positively and in agreement, Martin is now looking down with his arms folded as if he's suddenly become uncomfortable. Dr. J, taking notice, asks, "What is it, Martin? What's troubling you?" With his arms still folded and looking down as if he's remembering something heavy, Martin lowly stammers,
"Kyle Jenner, my boss."
"Well, what about him?" asks Dr. J in a concerned yet inquisitive tone. Martin says,
"He's woo,
says Martin, still looking down and shaking his head, visibly becoming anxious. "Stop right there and hear me, Martin. It's time for you to stop getting small to this guy. In other words, stop withdrawing and being in fear. It's time to start getting big to your boss. Meaning, be more assertive and proactive."
Like how, Dr. J?
"Well, set firm boundaries, such as refusing to accept unprofessional behavior, actions, or outbursts, and use assertive communication with him. Remember to stay calm under fire. Take deep breaths, like box breathing, like for driving. And one more thing, I'd like to suggest, think funny thoughts." Martin, now looking up at Dr. J, kind of puzzled, asks,
"Funny thoughts? How do you mean?"
Dr. J says, "Imagine your boss in a humorous light, like maybe him in funny clothes or something about him that could amuse you." Martin, unfolding his arms and slightly smiling, says,
"Well, he does have a big bald head."
"There you go. That's a start," says Dr. J, smiling back at Martin, with the rest of the group laughing along. Back to Martin, sitting in his car in the parking garage. He observes that the time is now 7:45 a.m., and he grabs his old brown attaché case and boards the elevator to head up to the 10th floor of the Comerica Bank Tower. He exits the elevator to enter the office of Copper and Poke and hurriedly heads to his cubicle to place his things down. And along the way, he grabs a bottled water from the refreshment area. He sits at his neatly organized desk and sips from his water, practicing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique to help him decompress and stay grounded. He thinks the technique to himself.
Identify things you see. 5.
He looks around and sees Tanya Morris, who he finds very attractive and is always nice to him, and continues.
4. Things you hear.
He hears the phones ringing and various people talking. He continues.
3. Touch.
He rubs his desk, fingers pressing against it, feeling the smoothness, and continues.
2. Smell.
He smells freshly brewed coffee that he stays away from because it gives him the jitters. And he continues.
1. Things you taste.
He unscrews the cap to his water and takes a nice, long sip. Just as Martin places the open water down on his desk, he hears a loud voice from behind him saying, "Good, you're finally here." Martin feels the stinging sensation of pins in his armpits at the sound of the voice. But this time, he remembers to stay calm under fire and takes some deep breaths, turning around to see the sour face of his boss, Kyle Jenner, holding a stack of files, who continues, "I need these done by 2:30, no later." Martin quickly remembers, think funny thoughts, and in his mind, Kyle's bald head begins to expand like a giant balloon, causing Kyle's sourly mean face to become a small, ridiculous looking face in the middle of a now giant, oversized head. Martin giggles to himself at the thought, causing the feeling of pins in his armpits to quickly go away, with Kyle asking, "What's so funny?"
Oh, nothing, Kyle. I'll take the files now if you don't mind,
says a now calm and collected Martin. Kyle, instead of handing the files to Martin, drops them on Martin's desk, causing his water to splash on the floor. Kyle then brashly says, "Looks like you got a mess there. Make sure you clean it up." All of a sudden, Martin remembers, stop getting small, get big, and set boundaries. Refuse to accept unprofessional behavior, forcing him to say,
Oh, no, Kyle. That's very unprofessional of someone who's supposed to be a manager. You made the mess. You figure out how to clean it up.
Stunning everyone in the office, who are now watching the interaction. With Martin noticing the witnesses, he continues,
This isn't a good look for you, Kyle, with everyone watching and all.
Kyle's sour face now turns to one of concern as he notices that everyone is indeed watching. Kyle says, "Oh, okay, Martin. I'll call maintenance right now to get this cleaned up. Just please have these files ready." With Martin responding,
I always do my job, Kyle, and by all means, use my desk phone to call maintenance.
"You're right. Let me do that now." As maintenance is cleaning up the spilt water, Martin makes his way to retrieve another bottle of water. And on his way, Tanya Morris, with an approving smile and look, says,
"Hi, Martin. That's how you do it. Good deal."
Martin, with a half look, says,
"Hi, Tanya. Thanks."
As he hurriedly grabs his water and returns to his cubicle. With Martin completing his work ahead of time, the day at his job comes to a close. And as he packs up to leave, a thought crosses his mind.
Next session, I need to ask Dr. J how to handle my anxiety when it comes to interpersonal relations at work, especially when it comes to someone I'm attracted to.
He finally gets in his car and uses the same tools he used to make it to work for his drive home, singing,
Sailing takes me away to...
And there you have it, episode 2 of Group Therapy. Did you catch those tools? If you didn't, let me run them down for you real quick. So we started with Martin in the car using gradual exposure, where he was sitting in his parked car and he was gripping the steering wheel to get a feeling for controlling the steering wheel. Then he drove around his block before he hit the highway. Next, we have grounding, where you do what's called box breathing. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4 to manage any panic while you might be driving. Then we had externalizing the fear. This is where you anthropomorphize your anxiety. In other words, you make it like it's a living human being or a living thing, right? Treat the anxiety like a passenger on the bus that can be noisy but can't physically interfere with you driving. Then you have control the environment. Listen to some calming music and also allow yourself extra travel time to reduce stress. And then we have cognitive restructuring, right? This is where you challenge catastrophic thoughts, replace them with realistic ones like, I am a safe driver and I got this, I can handle this. Then like if you come across a butthead or an aggressive driver or somebody like that, road rager, ignore them. Don't engage and keep focus on your driving, man. Then we even had tips for handling anxiety at work. Stay grounded. Use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. Identify things you see, hear, touch, smell, and taste, or go to the bathroom and run some cold water over your wrists to slow your heart rate. Then positive thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's like the driving thing, right? Challenge all the negative thoughts and replace them with realistic, balanced thoughts and perspectives, okay? And also, this is something that they do for ADHD, which is me. Practice mindfulness. You know what I'm saying? Remain in the present moment so you don't ruminate on past interactions with somebody that might be a negative person. And sometimes try understanding why your boss or whoever it is a jerk towards you, okay? Then your view, you got to change it sometimes. Stop getting small. In other words, don't withdraw and don't be in fear. Get big. Be more assertive and proactive. Now, that don't mean, cuss them out or nothing like that, but you can stand tall and stand on your own too and set you some boundaries, man. Set firm boundaries, such as refusing to accept unprofessional behavior, actions, or outbursts, and practice assertive communication. And one of the ones that I like, funny thoughts, man. Imagine humorous, funny things going on, especially if it's someone who's giving you anxiety. Imagine them in a funny way. Okay. Also, I'm big on supplements, right? Supplements can help out a lot. And a supplement that I use for my ADHD, which also helps people with anxiety, is magnesium glycinate. It's been proven. I'll say it again. Magnesium glycinate, glycinate. It regulates the nervous system and calms the body's stress response. If you know somebody that's dealing with anxiety, share this with them, man. That's what this is all about. You or they are not alone. Okay? In the next episode, Group Therapy, episode 3, Billy, ADHD, which is very personal to me. So come on back. Remember, don't let life kill you, and don't let the enemy steal your joy.